Hi guys. Hello. It's me. It's Dee. I'm back again, bringing you another live video. And this time, I'm hoping that I worked out a little bit of the kinks with the sound. Some of you were saying to me that my last video, the sound was horrible. But I do want to remind you that I did tell you that the production quality is not going to be great these first few videos while I try to work out all the kinks. So bear with me if this one isn't fantastic, but I'm hoping that it got a little bit better. Anyhow, so hey, um, I have actually gotten a really good response from that last video, so thank you very much to everybody who tuned in. This time I want to talk to you guys about a melange of topics, but basically giving you the rundown if you are a new parent of things that you are probably going to encounter and worry about in those first 100 days. So, um, things like, what color should their poop be, SIDS, and that being a real concern, how long you should be breastfeeding for. Um, Let me just see, what were the other things? Pacifiers, bottles, sterilizing bottles, and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go through it kind of topic by topic, and it's not going to be a very long video, probably about the same as last time. Um, but I just wanted to address this because, like this first 100 days, because I think that as new parents, often we go to Google, and then we turn into self proclaimed doctors trying to diagnose whatever's going on with our babe. Um, and that can be very stressful. I won't lie. When I had Olivia, I was on Google all the time, and and it was stressful. It was ridiculous. There's so much information out there, and you're kind of like, okay, what? Who do I listen to? What do I follow? Um, and I am here to tell you that really the best tool as a new parent that you will ever, ever, ever have, and really as a parent, is going to be your instinct. It's going to be your gut because you know your child the best. Like they are new, brand new to the world, fresh out of the womb, while they've been with you, mom, for the last 9 months or 8 months or however long it's been. Um, and you really just got to go on those gut feelings because that's what gets you through those first 100 days. Yes, in the first 100 days, especially if you're Canadian. I don't know about in the States, so I apologize to all my American mamas. But in Canada, um, in the first 90 days, they're going to be getting a checkup and I think their first set of vaccinations. So, yes, you do see a doctor in that point. So, it's great to kind of store up all of those questions and fire them off with the doctor. Because it is better, guys, to sound completely ridiculous and irrational and stupid than to worry about something that could potentially be, um, dangerous or important to mention to the doctor. So absolutely store up all those questions. But if you don't see, and again, don't take this advice as the end all be all, but if baby is happy, baby's eating, baby's gaining weight, baby is pooping, peeing, um, and it is all relatively the right colors and scents, then really there's no reason for you to rush off to the doctor or to be searching high and low for answers on Google. You really just got to go with your gut. Baby looks happy. Baby probably is happy. And I always say too, this is something that my sister said to me. If you are worrying about your parenthood, you're probably doing a better job than you think and that you're giving yourself credit for. So rest assured that baby is probably fine. If you obviously have those concerns, um, a quick phone call to your pediatrician or to, your even your general practitioner. In some cases, I've called my OB for questions. These guys are medical professionals. They're getting paid. Call them by all means. But what I'm trying to say is, don't. don't just go crazy with the Google searches because you will drive yourself crazy. That's basically what will happen. So yeah, so let's get into it. So some of the topics. Okay. Um, okay, so breastfeeding. So I just did my last video on breastfeeding, and I mentioned to you guys that my goal was for 6 months solid, and then we would see what happens after that. Okay, um, that is basically still my goal, and I think that for most, I shouldn't say most. I think that for some women who find breastfeeding a little challenging, like myself, 6 months is probably your kind of go-to. Um, I know that like my pediatrician, for example, he does recommend that if I can breastfeed for a year, breastfeed for a year. But breastfeeding is it's a beautiful journey. Um, it's hard as hell, and it has a fantastic, um, array of medical benefits for your child. However, if you stop enjoying it, I wouldn't, I'm thinking about myself. I don't think that I would continue to breastfeed if I stopped enjoying breastfeeding. And not to say that right now I'm like, woo, let's breastfeed, let's just pop them out. But um, once I get over the overall shock of, oh my God, my nipples, um, I do enjoy it. I kind of settle into it. And, me and Eva really, we just have this really nice quiet moment where I know that she's being nourished. I love seeing her like milk drunk face and, a little bit of milk left on her mouth afterwards. I don't know what, it just gives me satisfaction. Um, but yeah, if you're not enjoying it to some extent, then you're just kind of there and you're like, oh my God, you're irritable and you're probably exhausted. And then there's this little human chomping on your boobs. That's probably not fun for anybody. So I would say, um, do it until it feels like you shouldn't be doing it anymore because formula isn't the devil. And at that point too, you're starting to introduce other foods. You've probably started on some cereal. You'll probably I'm pretty sure I started Olivia on solid foods around 6 months, maybe even earlier, like on purees and stuff like that for sure. Um, I will get back to you guys. I will make sure I do a video on like introducing foods and stuff like that because that journey was actually really fun for me and I loved it. Um, but so what I'm trying to say is that at this point you're starting to introduce other things that will help with nourishment. And like I said, formula isn't the devil. So, if you're at that point where you're just like, no, this is not enjoyable for me anymore, I would stop. I would start to wean your babe off of breastfeeding. Maybe it's something where you can pump and still give breast milk in a bottle. So there are other options. So I would say don't get down on yourself. I think that breastfeeding, it's so crazy. Everybody is so obsessed with breastfeeding these days. There's the movement about normalizing breastfeeding, which I'm all about. Um, fortunately, I haven't had any encounters where people have been staring or said rude comments to me, which is good for them because I would definitely be kicking some ass. Like, I'm not afraid to throat punch somebody if I need to. um, but there's all these movements around to normalize breastfeeding. There's, this disdain for breastfeeding. There's like, out in public. Then there's the people who are like, you gotta breastfeed because that's the way your baby's gonna get the best nutrients. And, like, oh, okay, like we all get it. We get it. Breast is best, yes. But fed is actually best, right? So however it happens, it happens. There's plenty of women who cannot breastfeed. I myself could not breastfeed my first time around. So there's all of these stigmas around it. And I think, again, going back to my first point, just trust your instinct and go with what feels good for you. Because if you're stressed out and you're trying to breastfeed, maybe your milk supply is low, or maybe it's uncomfortable for you, or whatever the situation is, and you're not having a good time, your baby's going to feel that as well. And baby's not going to have a good time either. So I think it's just really important to do what's good for you and your family. Um, okay, so that's the breastfeeding or question. So whether or not you have to do it for 6 months. So again, I don't think you do. You do it for however long you feel good about it. So sterilizing bottles and pacifiers. Um, some parents are very concerned about this, and there are so many products out there to sterilize your bottles. Dr. Brown's has this whole contraption where you put the bottles in it, and then you put the water, you put it in the microwave. I'm gonna just tell you something right now. There's no difference between Dr. Brown's massive plastic container and your Tupperware containers at home. Um, you know, Equally as good is putting on a pot of boiling water and sterilizing, dipping your bottles in, making sure that they rotate. I just like to count to 10, make sure that they get in those rotations, and then pop them out, put them on a nice clean towel to dry, and boom, you're done. Um, I think my mom used to put them in a container, put the water in there, pop them in the microwave, and I think that that's how she sterilized bottles back in the day. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you to go ahead and do that. I like the boiling water situation because I can see the water has been boiled, like, it gets to that point, blah, blah, blah. Um, my whole thing to this is you don't have to run out there and buy a sterilization kit. That's ridiculous. Like, what? Look, there's so many products for babies, okay? It is a multi-billion dollar industry. They're going to make any product possible and market it as essential for your baby. It is not. Moms, dads, boiling hot water in a pot, wait till it's boiling, pop in your bottles, pop them out, be done with it. Um, I'm pretty sure that that even works for the glass one. So I'm speaking strictly about sterilizing plastic bottles. I'm pretty sure it would work for the glass ones as well. Parents who are using glass bottles, you're going to have to look that up, whether or not the glass is safe to be boiled, like whether it's going to break or something like that. I don't think so. I feel like they know that parents want to sterilize their bottles. So with the pacifiers, again, if you're sterilizing your bottles and you have your boiling hot water ready, just pop the pacifier in there. Boom, done. 10 seconds and pop it out. Okay, so again, nothing is going to melt um, if you're using the plastic. So sterilizing your bottles has never been easier, and there's no product on the market right now that is more effective financially and otherwise than your boiling pot of hot water. So, we're not even going to go further into this. That's the sterilization. um, oh yes, the sleeping question. Okay, so mm, Olivia, my firstborn, started sleeping through the night at 2.5 months. What? It was crazy. I know. I've just blown your minds here. Okay, but that is also because she was formula fed. And typically, formula fed babies are fuller, faster, and so they will sleep longer. That is typical. It's not for every baby. Um, Now that I'm breastfeeding, I mean, Eva's only a month, so I still have a ways to go with her. And I think for any newborn baby, breastfed or formula fed or whatever, um, they are not going to sleep through the night probably. Okay, so for all the mamas who are like, what sleeping techniques can I use and what training and like, cool it. I think that, if you're thinking that you can sleep train your baby at 1 month old, you could have a rocky parenthood because that's just not possible. Um, I shouldn't say it's not possible, but it's not very likely. Babe is still going through so much. They are, sleeping for most of the day. And you're going to find it very difficult to be keeping up your newborn during the day so that they can sleep at night. Like, they don't get it, and they're just kind of like, "I need to sleep, mama, so, yeah, I'm gonna be sleeping." Um, it's just part of the deal, you know? Excuse me, you get these beautiful humans, and they're cute and snuggly and smell delicious, and they don't sleep. That's just kind of life, right? It does pass. It usually passes quicker than you think. Like I said, my firstborn, by 2.5 months, she was sleeping through the night. And I'm talking about like 10 to 8 a.m. So, like, sleeping through the night. Sorry, guys, something in my throat. I think that I'm going to have a different situation and a different experience with my second, and that's fine. Um, I've heard of all sorts of situations. I've heard of, I'm on year and a half and my babe is still not sleeping through the night. I know of women who co-sleep with their children, and exclusively breastfeed. So, and they're breastfeeding at maybe a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years old. They're still breastfeeding. They're still co-sleeping. So baby is still not sleeping through the night. Um, I know of women who, like mine, it was like, yeah, 3 months sleeping through the night, great, and breastfed. So it really is, up to the baby. I don't think that there's any formula or really technique. There are things that you can try, obviously, but it's not to say that it's going to work for everybody. So you really have to be, um, mindful of that and very conscious that your child is different than that other child, and then that other child, and that other child. They're all different. And every woman is going to have, and every man, sorry, is going to have a different parenting experience. So, I wouldn't try to push it, because I think, when we try to manipulate the situation, I think that's when we come into problems as parents, because we get frustrated, we're stressed out, it adds to your exhaustion. So just go with the flow. It's not going to be forever. Um, as an example, yes, Olivia was sleeping through the night, but she was still waking up, um, one or two times, just for whatever reason. She was crying or whatever. I and at 2.5 months is when I transitioned her into her crib in her own room. So before that, she was sleeping in a bassinet beside me, in my room, and then after that, I had transitioned her to her own room. So, probably just like a little scared and, like, where am I? Waking up in the middle of the night, a little startled. But by about, I would say about 5 months, she was really good. And then we had a 6 month sleep regression, and that was awful. She would not go to sleep unless I rocked her and she was like conked out. And then it was one of those situations that you see on television where you're trying to put down your baby and you're like trying not to even breathe because baby could wake up at any second and it starts all over again. And I had about 2 weeks of that, and I reached out to people and I was like, oh my God, what do I do? Like, she's to sleep through the night. Oh, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Can you tell that, like, I'm not sleeping at night? Um, but yeah, so she wasn't sleeping at night, and I reached out to other parents, that I know, and they were like, all different advice. Like, you just gotta co-sleep with her, or try this hot water compress, try all this stuff that's worked for them, right? And so it's amazing because it's this great community, and you're sharing all of this knowledge, and you're sharing all of these different techniques. But again, they're techniques that work for that particular baby at that particular point, because it's not to say that that technique would work again on that same child. So you really just have to take everything with a grain of salt. Again, trust your instinct, but it might be trial and error, right? You might have to try a few different things and it might not work. Like, nothing might work. And you just have to deal with it. Fortunately for me, when she went through sleep regression, and it's only ever happened once in her life so far, so that's been awesome. But when she did go through it, what ended up happening was, um, we did 2 weeks of just like, oh my gosh, we have to rock this child to sleep fully. Um, And then I just couldn't do it. So by the end of those 2 weeks, I was like, "Okay, guys, I'm gonna try the cry it out method because nothing else seems to work." And the cry it out method is one of the most heart-wrenching things as a parent you could ever do. It is awful. And I'm sure it's awful for Babe, but it's so awful for a parent. Um, so basically, it is exactly what it is called. You let them cry it out, and it took about, I would say, 4 days, 4 to 5 days, letting her do that. And so I would go and I would put her upstairs. I would rock her. I'd put her down. She'd wake up. I would say, "It's okay, baby." Pat her back, give her a kiss, and leave the room. She'd be bawling down the place. I'd come downstairs with the monitor. I'd sit here. I'd be like rocking. Oh my God, she's still crying. She's still crying. Bawling, bawling. Just emotional disaster. I'm a horrible mother. I can't believe I'm letting my child cry this out. By day 4 or 5, whatever it was, because so with the cry out method, you would go back in, um, you'd reassure them like every 15 minutes, and then it would go to every like half an hour, and then every 45 minutes. Because when I say cry it out, your kid is literally bawling down the place and potentially for hours. Like it's not just that, okay, they're gonna cry it out for like a half an hour and then be no. Like they're crying hysterical. Their whole world is ending for hours. So if that's the situation, you're going back in every 15 minutes and then gradually every 30 minutes and then maybe every hour and then you're not going back. And it's heart wrenching. So we did that. And like I said, by the end of like the fourth or fifth day, she was fine. She even developed this very, very, very cute habit where she would do this little, like she would be lying down on her tummy and she'd do this little bum roll, nestle herself in. And then once I saw the bum roll, I was like, okay, Olivia's going to be going to sleep now. It's good, good. So, I mean, the sleeping thing is hard because we're all tired, right? Everyone's exhausted. Baby's exhausted. You're exhausted. Daddy's exhausted. Everybody's exhausted. Um, but there is no set time. There's no set time. There's no book that says by this time you should be sleeping at this many out. Like, you know, people want to believe in that, but that's not the reality. The reality is that your baby's going to let you know exactly when they are comfortable to start sleeping through the night. So look out for that, guys. Okay. So that is that. Um, Noises and like weird noises and stuff like that when baby is sleeping. What does that mean? Is my baby okay? Your baby's fine, more than likely. Um, Newborns especially make weird sounds in their sleep. Uh, my newborn is sleeping right now, and they're gurgling up a storm. They gurgle, they burp, they fart, they do things like what? I have no idea. Um, they're fine. Newborn sounds are fine. They're just working it out. They're working out whatever's in their system and all that good stuff. So yeah, they're fine. Um, the only noises I think that you should be really concerned about is if they sound like you're choking. Obviously, you want to check that. Um, and to be honest, with a newborn, I would check if they are quiet for too long. There is that risk of SIDS, and you want to make sure your baby's breathing, and they breathe very shallowly. So you just, uh, having a newborn myself, and going through a scare with Olivia where her father and I didn't think she was breathing one day, and we went up to her crib and we couldn't see any movement. Like we couldn't see her back moving, like up and down or anything like that. And we both started to bawl. We're big ballers in this house. So we started to cry, um, and I had to leave the room, and he was like, "No, you need to come back. You need to touch her." And I was like, I can't do it. If something is wrong, what do I do?" Like I was, it was a disaster. Um, but everything was fine. My husband ended up like giving her a hard poke, and she like kind of did the startle reflex. She was fine. Um, but yeah, for sure, as a parent, you can get very worried sometimes because they're just so tiny. Their bodies are just so little, and it's hard to hear them breathe sometimes. So I would always be concerned if they're not making sounds. Sounds, that's a good thing. Good, baby's fine, alive, kicking. No sounds, that needs a check. Okay, so don't worry about sounds for your newborn. Newborn's fine. Okay, poops. Okay. I'm gonna actually tell you guys that you should go on babycenter.com or babycenter.ca and type in the search uh, poop, Poop, poop. Um, there is a chart of different poops, um, and they're different colors and forms and consistencies. Um, and you'll be able to look at that chart and determine whether or not your baby is having healthy poops because there are so like your baby could have a whole color spectrum of poops, um, from yellow to black. So it's just like, yeah, with the poop situation, that is definitely a good, like that's worth a Google, to make sure that your baby's on track. Obviously, there's certain things that you can kind of tell are off right away. So if baby has like red or bloody stool, that's something that you're going to want to get checked out right away. If baby has white or like a grayish type of poop, you're going to want to get that checked out right away. If baby's poops are by any means like formed and so kind of hard, you're going to want to get that checked out right away because that could be constipation, that could lead to hemorrhoids and other things. And you're obviously going to want to find out like what's causing the constipation. Um, so those are the three that I would be concerned about. Black poop is usually meconium. I think I'm saying that right. Um, and so that's fine. That's not a cause of concern. It usually happens within the first like week or two of life of having a newborn. Um, and then it could be yellow. It could be like a light brown with like little white uh, not dots, but little white clumps, basically, and that's like protein or calcium or something happening in their body. It's all normal. So again, babycenter .com or .ca is a really good resource for the poop chart because it actually goes through like different colors of poop and what it means. And but it gives you like the real life poop. It's not just like a cartoon drawing. It's like this was a child's poop. Like some mother took off their diaper, took a picture of this poop, and sent it into Baby Center, and they compiled these pictures and have it up on their website for you. So it is a real um, factual account of poop. So yes, look that up. Okay, with breastfeeding. Do you have to pump and dump once you drink a glass of wine or any sort of alcohol? I know of people who don't, and they said that it's fine. And now I'm talking about one glass of wine, one glass of beer, or one can of beer, whatever. I'm not talking about, I just went out binge drinking and now I'm going to feed my baby. Like, absolutely not. I would definitely not recommend that at all. But one glass, your breast milk is liquid gold. It is hard to come by. And, you know, I I can't even answer this question because I don't really want anyone like blowing up at me. I think that I've definitely read that if you feel fine, if you don't feel intoxicated, then you're fine to feed your baby with your breast milk. Um, I've heard that, one glass is not enough to really affect the baby. But then I know of people who are just like against it completely. So again, I think that that's something that you should discuss with your pediatrician. I would, if you are a big wine or beer or alcohol drinker and you want to get back into that. I would discuss that with your pediatrician to determine what's a safe amount, is there a safe amount for you, and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's not something that you Google. That's something that's what you want to talk to a health professional. So again, so see, like there are things that, yeah, absolutely worth a Google. Poop, let's check it out. Whether or not I should be feeding my child alcohol tinged breast milk, that's a doctor. Okay. Um, yeah, me personally, I don't. Um, but to be honest, I haven't found myself really back into drinking. I've besides my youth, I've never really been a heavy drinker. Uh, Not even socially, to be very honest. Um, so it's never really been a cause of concern for me. I know every once in a while I love me a good pitcher of sangria. And so when those months come around for that, that would be something that I would address with my pediatrician. But for right now, I'm good. Um, for lactation purposes, I've heard that wheat beer is actually really good for helping you uh, produce milk and keep up your milk supply. But again, it's not something that I've tried, and it's not something really that interests me. So that is that. Um, what was the last question? Ba, 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 ba. Sorry, I'm just looking through all my questions that I got from you guys. Is it bad to wake up a sleeping baby? Like, I know that there's like all of these different myths about it. Like, you shouldn't wake up a sleeping baby. You're going to disrupt their like brain development and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know why you would want to wake up your sleeping baby, to be very honest, unless you absolutely needed to. In which case, if you absolutely need to, then you absolutely need to. Then the question really is a mute point because you have to wake this child up. Um, but I wouldn't like, they go to sleep and they're so cute and they're doing all these little movements, and you're just like, oh my God, I want to eat them up. Don't wake them up for that because that is never a good situation. That never ends well. Baby wakes up mad, angry, like, what the mom, what the hell? So I would say, if you have to, then you have to. It's not even a question. If you don't have to, then don't. Cool. Um, so that's it. That's all of the questions that I had, that I promised to address with some of my followers on Instagram. And guys, keep sending me these questions. This is so awesome. I love it. Basically, I just put out a little like announcement saying I'm going to be doing YouTube videos. DM me your questions, and I'll be sure to address them. So that was about half of them. So I'll do another video, or like throughout, I'll be doing videos where I'm addressing your questions. And again, this is just personal, right? This is not. This is a coming from a personal perspective. I'm not a medical professional by any means, so please don't take anything I say as medical fact. If I do have medical fact, I will make sure that I point that out for you, and in the description, I'll make sure that I have a link to that um, site or that bit of research or whatever it is. But everything really is coming from a personal perspective. I'm on baby number two. My eldest is now 2.5 years old, so it's really just a personal experience. Um, but I love it. I love sharing this with you guys, and I love building this community. So, um, let me know in the comments if there is anything that you guys want me to address for my next video. I am going to try to do 2 videos a week. So this would be my second video for the week. So I am done. But I'll come back to you guys next week. Oh, actually, I might do another video this week about unboxing and show you guys some products for the that went out for September. So I'll do that. Um, but if not, I'll do it next week for sure. And like I said, leave me those comments, questions, and concerns. And if you guys have any tips for me in terms of how to raise my production value, please let me know. I did get the tip about doing the video on my phone. The problem is that on my phone, I can't go live. Like there's like a weird thing happening. So I'm gonna have to fix that first before I can do that. But I will try. I'll try to make sure that I can really boost up the quality. I'm hoping that the sound was a bit better. It's shaking a lot too because my laptop's on my lap. Pretty much a jackass move. But yeah, hopefully next week I kind of have like more of my shit together and I can really get into some stuff with you. I've got some really great products that I want to talk to you guys about, some really great books that I'm reading that I'd love to share. Um, and I just want to have a conversation. I just want to talk some real parenting talk with you guys. So that's it for me, you guys. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And if I don't see you again this week, I will see you next week. Make sure to subscribe, like, and follow me on Instagram and on Facebook. I will put the links down below. And yeah, have a great day.